Today's lesson is called True Discipleship. A disciple is a learner. A disciple is one who follows. An apostle comes from a Greek word that means one who is sent. We don't know how many disciples Jesus had. We don't know who was following him around, but we do know that Jesus had 12 apostles. All apostles would have been considered disciples as well. An apostle was essentially a disciple who had a special privilege of being sent out by Christ. They were sent out by Christ to evangelize, to continue his ministry. Jesus is also a disciple. But he's a disciple of his Father. He demonstrates to us what true discipleship is by modeling it as a servant of God. Dietrich Bonhoeffer says, "The call to discipleship is the call to change. Discipleship is not just, okay, I'm going to follow you. Not just saying you're a disciple." All four Gospels, but Mark in particular, demonstrates for us what discipleship is versus what discipleship is not. Discipleship involves change.
Make that change.
So what I'm going to give you now are 5 characteristics of what it means to be a disciple. Number 1, a willingness to leave certain things behind. This characteristic is best described through the story of the rich man. This man runs up to Jesus. Men in the first century Palestine don't run. This man didn't care about social norms. He was excited. He was excited because he thought he had it in the bag. He thought Jesus was going to say, in order to inherit eternal life, all you got to do is follow the commandments. And the guy knew he was already following the commandments. So what he wanted to hear from Jesus was, hey, you don't have to do anything extra. You don't have to do anything extra. You are already going to inherit the kingdom. He wanted Jesus's guarantee. But you're lacking one thing. It's these riches. These riches are holding you back. Is this financial wealth? I mean, typically it's interpreted as financial wealth, but there's no guarantee. The point is, he is so consumed in something that when he hears Jesus say, you have to give up something to inherit eternal life, the man is shocked that he has to give up something. He's shocked that he has to sacrifice in order to inherit eternal life. He becomes deeply grieved. He's not just surprised by Jesus' answer, he starts to grieve.
What, are you gonna cry now?
But here's the part that I find most fascinating. He walks away. He walks away sad, for he had many possessions. See, with discipleship and faith, sometimes we pride ourselves on being uber Christian, and then when something gets difficult, we shy away. I call that being a fair-weathered Christian. You know, like being a fair-weathered friend. You're a friend only in times of good. But if your faith is going to require a sacrifice, then I'm going to walk away sad. Think about Mark's audience. Mark's audience is going through persecutions. Are you willing to die for your faith? Discipleship involves sacrifice. God's only going to ask you to leave certain things behind that are holding you back. He doesn't just sit around and is like, oh, you really like that, so therefore I want you to give it up. God's not cruel like that. God's going to ask you to give up what is holding you back. Second characteristic that Bonhoeffer was getting at, a willingness to live life like a pilgrim. A pilgrim is on a holy journey. Mark's gospel was actually referred to as the Way, which was also the name of the early Christian church before they adopted the name Christian. We were the way. Jesus in Mark's gospel shows us the way. Pilgrims are on the way to a holy destination. A pilgrimage. A pilgrim and a settler are two separate things. A settler sounds exactly what it is. You settle. A pilgrim is always trying to do more for the faith. A pilgrim is living with the awareness that they're on a course.
Second star to the right.
And that's a holy journey. A settler thinks he's home. A pilgrim is constantly moving towards home. And the destination is always in the pilgrim's mind. Number 3, a willingness to develop a listening ear to be taught.
What?
The best story to illustrate this point is the famous story of Mary and Martha. I know it's in Luke, not Mark, but come on. It's still a good story to make that point. reason why Martha's running around. Martha's running around to provide hospitality for Jesus. Martha thinks that by doing so many different things, God will be satisfied. The problem with Martha doing this is that she's so caught up in her things, she's missing the point that God is right there in front of her. Mary chooses to listen to the words of Jesus in order to be with Jesus. We get so caught up in externals sometimes that we forget why we're doing it. As a teacher, I can get so caught up in paperwork and lesson planning and grading that I forget that I have students. I'm there for my students. Jesus calls Martha out. Jesus says to Martha, Martha, Martha. He says her name twice because she's still running all over the place. And Jesus has to say, Martha, Martha, stop. Look at me. Hi, right here. Jesus, you're trying to serve me, but I'm right here. Just be with me and listen. You can't listen when you're running around. Number 4, willingness to be led and learning to obey. We sure the heck know Peter had a problem with that one. Finally, number 5, willingness to die so that we might live. That's almost like that first one. Giving up the riches so that you can have eternal life. Eternal life is eternal riches. See the irony? The rich man didn't want to give up his riches in order to have better riches? What a contradiction. But that's sin. Sin makes us think that we have something better, and we miss out. The call to discipleship is the call to change.